It's winter, it's November, we've got a lot of snow, and we're all here today for a really good cause, to talk about climate justice and justice for communities that are being impacted by out of control fossil fuel development and climate change across not just Canada, but the entire planet. I'll introduce myself first. My name is Eriel Tchekwie, and I'm a member of the Athabasca-Chipewyan First Nation, and I'm also their communications coordinator. The ACFN are one of the downstream communities from Alberta's tar sands, and we are currently challenging the development of the Alberta's oil sands or tar sands. So, on that note, you guys want to do some chants? Pardon me? Are you guys excited to be here? Yeah! Are you excited to be here? Yeah! So, I'm going to say, what do we want? And you guys are going to say what?
Justice!
Justice! Or climate justice. Use climate justice. Okay. I'm going to do that, and then we'll try another one. What do we want?
Climate justice!
What do we want?
Climate justice!
When do we want it?
Now!
When do we want it?
Now!
What do we want?
Climate justice!
When do we want it?
Climate justice!
When do we want it?
Now!
Who wants to be warm?
Rights! Rights!
What do we want?
Climate justice!
When do we want it?
Now!
And the environment that we have in this country to continue to dig deep into the bottom of the barrel of dirty energy across this country. Here in Alberta, we are home to the world's largest industrial project on the planet, Alberta's tar sands, which is wreaking havoc on numerous communities, including my own. Henry was another community that is facing the consequences of bottom of the barrel development. And what we're seeing is the contamination of waterways, the contamination of animals and the biodiversity that many Indigenous communities still rely on for sustenance and to continue their cultural and treaty rights, which are supposed to be protected and upheld by the federal government. But along with the breaches of our treaties and our cultural rights, we are seeing the breaches of environmental legislation, the gutting of environmental law to allow out-of-control development, not just here in Alberta, but across Canada. We see fracking projects, we see coal projects. Enough is enough. It's time for this country and this government to stand up and take a stand, not just for the people here in this country, but for global climate change. Just this past week, we saw one of the largest storms in history to touch down in the Philippines and wreak havoc on that nation. It's a time for our governments to stand up because our country is leading the way to increasing global greenhouse gas emissions while the rest of the world is decreasing. It's time for our government to listen to the people and hear our words when we say enough is enough. So I want you to enough is enough. What do we want?
Justice!
What do we want?
Justice!
What do we want?
Justice!
When do we want it?
Now!
When do we want it?
Now!
Thank you. And I just want to explain what we have here today. The signs are a really good description, but here in this province, just this past winter, around this same time last year, the Alberta government and the Canadian Environmental Assessment Agency was reviewing an application from Shell Oil, one of the largest multinational corporations in the country, and one of the largest operators in Alberta's oil sands, besides Syncrude and Suncor. And they applied for an expansion of one of their existing projects. This expansion would increase the production from 200,000 barrels a day to 300,000 barrels a day. And that expansion would also mean the mining out of 21 kilometers of a river called the Muskeg River. It will mean the annihilation of critical habitat for species at risk, including wood bison and caribou. And it would also mean a serious increase in greenhouse gas emissions that is not just impacting here, us in Alberta, but the entire planet. And our nation, my nation, the Athabasca-Chipewyan First Nation, stood up and they said no to this corporation. They said no to the Canadian Environmental Assessment Agency, and they said no to the Alberta government, and they said enough government, and they have delayed their decision on it. And now we have the opportunity to send a message to the Canadian government and the Alberta government that we cannot afford this project, not just for our lives here in Alberta, but for the entire planet. So I just want to thank you all for being here and congratulate you all. And again, one more time, I just want to hear, what do we want?
Justice!
Where do we want it?
Now!
Thank you. And at these podiums and at the rallies, and to government officials, to corporate entities, I've stood before Shell numerous times to tell them that we no longer want their projects in our traditional territory. I have stood up to numerous different governments, and I do this not for myself and not for political gain, but because I want my children to have a future. We are in the 11th hour. If we don't do something, we will not be able to turn this around. I want my children to be able to know what it means to be a Dene person. I want them to know what it means to be on the land. I want them to know what a clean river looks like and what fresh air smells like. And right now we are headed on a trajectory that will mean that they will not know any of those things, and their children's children. I have no idea what the future looks like for them, but I pray and I hope that we can continue to stand together and send a message to the government and send a message to those corporations and say enough is enough. There is another way. Another way is possible. And you are a reminder that they have to take those directions and that we have to move in that direction. Our children, our children's children, the entire future of this planet lies in the hands of those with too much power. Thank you for all coming.